Have you ever wondered, why do the mightiest empires in history fall not from war, not from enemies at the gates, but from something carried in their own pockets? Money. Rome once ruled the known world, then unraveled when the denarius lost value. Spain piled up New World silver and gold, only to watch that very treasure wreck its economy. Britain presided over an empire in which the sun never set, then lost it when the pound weakened. Every time, the pattern was the same: unchecked spending, mounting debt, printing money to mask the crisis, and in the end, a collapse of trust. Today, the same warning lights are flashing in the United States. If you're paying rent, buying groceries, or worrying about retirement, you need to hear this. Let's start with Rome, the place where this pattern is carved deepest into history, visible across the sweep of the entire history of the Roman Empire. Four empires, Rome, Spain, Britain, and now the United States, seem different in era, language, and culture. Yet they share the same chain of fate. It wasn't war, it wasn't an external enemy, it was their own money, the foundation of trust in power turning against them. And the unsettling truth is the pattern is repeating. Understand it, and you can see America's future, not through prophecy, but through math, history, and what has already happened 4 times before. Over 2,000 years, every empire has walked through 7 decisive stages. Absolute dominance. Overextension. Spending beyond means. Currency debasement. Inflation. Loss of confidence. Collapse. No exceptions, no miracles, only rules. In this video, I'll do 4 things. First, recount 3 historical stories: Rome, Spain, and Britain. Second, lay out the 7-stage pattern that repeats. Third, hold that pattern up to the United States today. And finally, map 3 future scenarios with practical takeaways for each of us. Because this isn't a prediction. It's precedent, a cold pattern that has swept away every empire that believed it was different. Rome, when money dies, empires die. At its height, Rome was the center of the world. From Britain to Egypt, from Spain to Syria, all roads led to Rome, and nearly every transaction rested on a single coin, the denarius. It wasn't just silver. The denarius was trust cast in metal, an anchor you can trace through the entire history of the Roman Empire. That's why the system ran. One denarius held about 4.5 grams of pure silver. And as long as it stayed pure, the empire stood as firm as its marble. But keeping an empire cost more than building one. Each generation brought new borders, new garrisons, new roads, new promises. Spending outran revenue. The emperors reached for the oldest remedy in a crisis: debase the currency. Nero touched that constant first, shaving off 10% of the silver. It looked small, it looked harmless, but it was the crack. The coin still shone with the emperor's face, but its core had changed. After Nero came Caracalla, then Gallienus, each reign scraping off another layer, until the denarius contained only about 5% of its original silver content. Romans still called it money, but what they held was base metal washed in a thin skin of silver. Purchasing power collapsed. A meal turned into a handful of grain. Prices climbed. Goods vanished from the markets. And trust, invisible but decisive, melted faster than silver in the furnace. Soldiers drew their pay, but couldn't buy dinner. Farmers sold grain, but saw no reason to hold the coins. Barter returned rice for salt, wine for cloth. The empire's vast economy slid back toward the most primitive trade. No invading army was required. Let trust retreat and borders dissolve. Provinces stopped remitting taxes. Legions stopped receiving real pay. The world's greatest roads began to crumble, not from swords and spears, but from the lack of silver to repair them. Then the inevitable. When the money lost its value, everything built on it fell. Rome could no longer buy loyalty, couldn't purchase peace with hollow coins. And in the quiet, the mightiest empire on earth began to suffocate. When a soldier stops trusting the money, he stops fighting. When a farmer stops selling for the money, the economy stops. This is not only Rome's story, it's the wiring diagram of every empire that ever existed, and it's legible across the entire history of the Roman Empire. Rome is the first lesson, but the pattern didn't stop there. Spain, when silver turned to ash. After Rome, history turned to another empire, one that seemed too rich to ever grow poor, because it held what the world craved, silver and gold. 16th century, Spanish flags rose across the New World. Columbus opened the way, Cortés toppled the Aztec Empire, Pizarro crushed the Inca. Then high in the Andes, they found Cerro Rico, the rich mountain. Potosi became a silver sea from 1545 onward, pouring millions of pounds into Europe and stunning a continent. On the oceans, galleons with crimson crosses sailed heavy with treasure. On land, the king stared at overflowing coffers and believed God had chosen Spain to be rich on behalf of mankind. They minted the peso de ocho, the Spanish dollar, the first truly global currency, trusted from Manila to London. It felt eternal. Potosi kept gushing. They believed the more silver, the more power. But a colder rule surfaced. When everyone has more money, no one is truly richer. That's the paradox. Silver flooded markets. Prices soared. What cost one coin in 1500 needed 10 by 1600. The coin stayed pure, but there was too much of it to hold meaning. Inflation didn't come from fraud, it came from excess. And while silver surged across the Atlantic, Spain's real economy hollowed out. No factories, no skilled guilds rising. No invention, no production, just shopping, splendor, and war. The treasury filled and leaked back out to pay for foreign goods, rich on paper, poor in reality. Eventually, even silver couldn't cover the debts. Wars piled up against the Ottomans, against England, and against the Dutch revolt in the north. War, luxury, and debt, three knives carving the same chest. 1557, King Philip II declared bankruptcy. Royal payments stopped. Foreign creditors panicked and pulled away. Instead of stopping, Spain borrowed more, then defaulted again, 1560, 1575, 1596. 4 bankruptcies in 40 years, even while controlling half the world's silver. By then, everyone understood Spain had lost something rarer than precious metal: creditworthiness. Banks didn't want to lend. Merchants hesitated to accept the peso without checking. A coin once trusted worldwide now smelled of broken promises. Historians would call it the silver flood, a deluge that didn't drown with water, but with the illusion of prosperity. Because when gold and silver become a drug, empires forget how to work, build, and save. So the empire where the sun never set slid into financial twilight. By the end of the 30 Years' War, it was spent. No workshops, no credit, just debt and an empty treasury. Infinite resources can't replace financial discipline. Spain thought it had eternity in its hands, but it was trading time for a mirage of wealth. Spain teaches us this: temporary riches can hide structural weakness. And so the stage shifted again to an empire where the British pound would become the world's money. Britain, when money loses its crown, the empire loses its shadow. If Rome was the empire of soldiers and Spain the empire of silver, then Britain was the empire of money. For 2 centuries, the British pound, the pound sterling, was the heartbeat of the world. A quarter of the planet's population lived under the crown. A quarter of the Earth's land flew the Union Jack. And across every sea lane, merchants, bankers, and governments alike believed one thing: a pound was as good as gold. That wasn't a metaphor, it was literal. During the gold standard, each pound could be redeemed for a fixed weight of gold held in the vaults of the Bank of England. That faith was the foundation of the entire empire. When you rule the world's money, you don't have to conquer land. You make the world trade in your language. But like every empire that reached its peak, Britain chose to fight wars larger than it could afford. When World War I erupted in 1940, London, this world's financial capital, did something unprecedented. It suspended gold convertibility. The Treasury needed to fund the war, so it printed, borrowed, and promised to fix things later. Before the war, Britain's national debt stood at about $650 million. 5 years later, it exceeded $7 billion. The pound was still called paper gold, but the vaults held only paper and the smell of gunpowder. When the war ended, Britain tried to restore its former glory. In 1920, Winston Churchill, then Chancellor of the Exchequer, returned the nation to the gold standard at the old exchange rate. It sounded honorable, but it was economic suicide. The pound was overvalued, strangling exports, driving up unemployment, and pushing the economy into depression. Holding an illusion of value suffocated the real life of the nation. By 1931, Britain was forced off gold again, this time for good. The pound lost its anchor, and the world lost its faith. From that moment, London's financial empire began to crack. Then came World War II before the lesson had even healed. Debt and blood merged once again. The cost of war exceeded anything ever seen. When the smoke cleared, Britain emerged from the rubble with a debt to GDP ratio of 270%, a nation that had won the war but lost its wealth. At Bretton Woods in 1944, the hierarchy changed. The pound fell and the dollar rose. London, once the lender to the world, became the borrower. Attempts to restore credibility failed. A brief flirtation with free convertibility ended in crisis. Devaluations followed in 1949 and again in 1967. Inflation soared into double digits. The pride of a financial empire turned into a cautionary tale of overconfidence. And the damage wasn't just economic. When your currency loses its status, your influence follows. India gained independence in 1947. Egypt nationalized the Suez Canal in 1956. Britain's reaction was a shadow of its former self. One by one, the colonies departed, because no one follows a currency that's falling. From the empire on which the sun never set, Britain descended into the ranks of second-tier powers, an economy full of heritage, but running low on vitality. The British pound, once the symbol of global strength, became a pale echo of its past. That's how an empire can lose without a war, without a rebellion, only through negative numbers on a balance sheet. 3 empires, 1 pattern. Now let's tie it all together. The 7-stage pattern, the monetary cycle of every empire. 3 empires, 3 eras, 1 outcome. Put them together and a pattern appears clear as a formula. Remember DODDILC, 7 rungs from the summit to the floor. Stage 1, dominance. The money is strong, trusted, and anchored by gold, silver, or hard-earned confidence. Rome has the denarius. Spain, the silver peso. Britain, the pound. The US, the dollar. It's the golden age. Money isn't just a medium of exchange, it's a symbol of power. Stage 2, Overextension. The empire spreads everywhere. More bases, more battlefronts, more welfare promises, more political IOUs. Costs pile up and faith papers over the cracks. Rome garrisons 3 continents. Spain reaches for the oceans. Britain treats the globe as its home market. Every empire believes it can carry the world. Stage 3, deficit spending. Revenues can't keep up. No one wants to slow down. So they borrow to expand, borrow to survive, borrow to protect the illusion of strength. Debt becomes the empire's hidden heartbeat. Stage 4, currency debasement. Taxes come up short, credit runs thin, so they reach for the most dangerous miracle: print more money. The denarius loses silver, Europe drowns in Spanish silver, the pound leaves gold. The US breaks from gold in 1971. The name stays the same, the real value does not. Stage 5, inflation. More money, same goods prices jump. Paychecks get bigger while dinners get smaller. Wealth evaporates, trust phrase. From Roman markets to modern supermarkets, the rule hasn't changed. Stage 6, loss of confidence. Roman soldiers refuse coins. Spanish creditors stop lending. Nations drop the pound, and today, the world diversifies away from the dollar. Without trust, money is paper and power is a memory. Stage 7, collapse. Debts can't be paid. Armies can't be maintained. The administrative machine unwinds on its own. Empires don't vanish in one last battle, they fade in the ledgers. That's DODILC. Dominance, overextension, deficit, debasement, inflation, loss of confidence, collapse. 7 stages repeating for 2 millennia across 4 empires without missing a beat. Now, with this framework in hand, we turn to the United States step by step. After World War II, no one could compete with the United States. Its factories were untouched by bombing, gold flowed into its reserves. And at Bretton Woods, 1944, the world agreed to anchor the monetary system to the US dollar. 35 for 1 ounce of gold, a promise hard as steel. The dollar took the throne. It became the common language of trade. America, the steward of global financial trust. That was the summit. Powerful industry, massive gold reserves, stable rule of law, everything aligned. For half a century, the dollar wasn't just money, it was the symbol of the post-war order. Dollar's dominance was built on production and trust. But once economic strength peaked, expansion followed. From Japan to Germany, from Korea to the Middle East, the US built bases and signed treaties across the map, global influence with a global bill, defense spending north of $800 a year, and hundreds of thousands of personnel to sustain a circle of influence on 5 continents. It recalls Rome legions spread across 3 continents. Keeping peace by paying for it, convinced the tab could be covered forever. The greater the power, the longer the invoice. Global presence costs real money. For nearly half a century, America has rarely run a budget surplus. Year after year, spending outruns revenue, and the gap is bridged with debt. What was only a few $100 billion in the 1970s has now surpassed $36 trillion and climbing. Leaders call it investment in the future, but history draws a thin line between investment and illusion. Debt is a bridge useful only if there's solid ground on the other side. Otherwise, it's a bridge to a cliff edge. Debt can be a bridge or it can be a trap. In 1971, President Richard Nixon closed the gold window, ending the dollar's convertibility into gold. Since then, the world's strongest currency has been backed not by metal, but by the promise of the US government. Rome once thinned its silver. Spain drowned Europe in silver. Britain devalued the pound, and America, despite modern technology, has walked the same path, creating money to solve problems. The debasement no longer happens in a mint, but on the servers of the Federal Reserve. Keystrokes injecting trillions of digital dollars into circulation. Different tools, same essence. Different technology, Same economic problem. After every wave of money creation, households pay first. Costs for food, housing, healthcare, and tuition have been rising faster than wages. The official print may say 4%, 6%, or 9%, but the grocery checkout says otherwise. Inflation rarely sparks rallies, yet it quietly erodes savings, assets, and middle-class trust. It's a hidden tax there's no vote in Congress, yet everyone pays. Inflation is a hidden tax. This is the phase every empire eventually reaches. The world begins to doubt the center currency. The dollar's share of global reserves has fallen from about 70% to roughly 58%. BRICS countries are settling trade in their own currencies. Central banks from Asia to the Middle East are quietly buying gold. And new payment systems are forming outside Washington's reach. Here's the point. Once trust is lost, no decree or treaty can restore it overnight. You can't print trust. The world is tightly linked. A crack in confidence cascades like dominoes. When the unit of account wobbles, every number loses meaning. Trust is everything for fiat money. An ancient pattern is showing up in modern data. No one knows how long it will take. But if these signals persist, three paths remain. Three future scenarios. When money reaches a crossroads, if the pattern held for Rome, Spain, and Britain, today's question isn't whether it happens, it's how. Controlled decline, Britain's post-1945 route. The reserve currency status fades, influence recedes, but the system doesn't shatter. The dollar's reach narrows, U.S. living standards compress, and politics must cut spending, reform entitlements, and realign taxes and debt to the new reality. It's an orderly contraction, painful, gradual, but manageable. If fiscal discipline holds and society trades some comfort for stability. Result, a multipolar world. America is no longer singularly dominant, but remains a major power among several. Chaotic collapse. No one wants this, but everyone must consider it. A sudden break in confidence, markets doubt U.S. solvency or the dollar's value. Financial markets freeze, global trade ceases. Households lose access to deposits or credit, and social unrest flares as a survival reflex. This is not just an economic crisis, it's a crisis of trust in the global system because nearly every nation holds or transacts in dollars. Bottom line, the decisive variable is trust its speed and scale of loss. Reset and restructure. The third path, painful, but with a way through. Here, the old system fails, but a new financial order is built quickly enough to prevent prolonged chaos. It could mean a return to some form of gold anchoring, a basket of currencies for global settlement, or a multinational digital standard under tight oversight. In this scenario, the world endures several years of intense adjustment. Asset values are repriced, interest rates whipsaw, but eventually a new order stabilizes. The pain is regenerative, not annihilating. And in this path, the United States can still play a leading role if it guides the reset rather than getting dragged into it. Three paths, three outcomes, three heartbeats of the same pattern. From controlled decline to chaotic collapse to systemic reset, they all revolve around a single variable: trust. Fiat money isn't backed by gold, it's backed by confidence. What determines the future of the dollar and of the global system isn't the number on the debt clock, but the speed and scale of trust erosion. If history teaches anything, it's this: empires don't fall in a night, and citizens who understand the pattern weather turbulence better than those who don't. So this isn't doomsaying, it's a call to clarity. First, understand systemic risk. Don't fixate on today's stock quote or interest print. Watch monetary and fiscal policy. That's the helm of the ship we're all on. The real question isn't green or red today. It's how much is government spending beyond revenue and who covers the gap. Second, control your own debt. You can't stop Washington from creating money, but you can stop living on paper-thin credit. Keep prudent liquidity, avoid excess leverage, and above all, invest in yourself. Skills, adaptability, and human networks are the true hard asset in any soft money era. Third, demand transparency and accountability. Citizens can't stay silent while the public purse stretches without limit. Ask the hard questions. Where is the money going? What's the repayment plan? Who bears the cost when the cycle repeats? A democracy is only as strong as its citizens' insistence on honest numbers. Finally, remember, preparation panic. No one knows the exact path ahead, but knowing the pattern helps you see early, act early, and stay calm longer. Because even if the name on the money changes, trust, discipline, and human adaptability are the only things that can't be debased. Prepare, stay clear-eyed, and don't panic. In every imperial downturn, the people who understand the pattern are the ones who write the next chapter. 4 empires once stood at the top: Rome, Spain, Britain, and now the United States. All wounded by the same blow: debased money, collapsing trust. History doesn't condemn, it warns, and hands us a chance to choose differently. The decision isn't only in Washington or at central banks. It lives with each of us who recognize the pattern and read the signals before it's too late. We can't change the past, but we can choose the wiser path. Between controlled decline, chaotic collapse, or a reset and rebuild, the future depends on how clear-minded we are right now. Money can lose value. Understanding always compounds. If this message gave you something to think about, tap like so more people see it, subscribe to keep exploring big ideas like this, and drop your thoughts in the comments. Which stage do you think we're in, D, O, or the second D? Your voice is the next part of this conversation. History waits for no one, but those who understand it always move one step ahead.